Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Zach and I are doing a discussion over Targi, which is a game that has been out for many, many years. I'm going to look up specifically how many years.
Been a while.
2012
Yep.
is when this game came out. God, that was over a decade ago. That is insane. But this is a game that I have always heard was like highly regarded, especially as like a strictly two-player game. And then got an expansion years later. I think.
I know it has an expansion.
2016. Yeah, Targi the expansion, which I have no idea what that adds. But I think this game is great.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it for, just its sheer simplicity.
Yep.
For it. It, for me, kind of hits on all the right notes of, really good turn angst. But because it's a two-player game, it's like, your turns are boom, boom, boom. And also, like, making first player important, but not detrimental to where it's like, I got first player, so I'm guaranteed to win. Sometimes you're playing for first player. Like, the raid at the end of the game, I was like, I'm going to get to go last. I hope a gold card comes out because I don't have any.
Right.
And I think this is a game that I feel is very, like, it becomes kind of figured out, almost in a chess-like way. That every time I play this game, it's always super, super close. Like, this game was a 2-point difference.
Yeah.
The time I played before was tied. It was a tie game, a tiebreaker game. And that just shows to me how balanced the game is.
Yeah, for a two-player game, it's very balanced.
So what do you think?
I enjoyed it. I probably felt less angst than you did up until the last round, which is where I won, like, the noble. And
well, I guess in terms of turn angst, I'm not sitting here going, I really want to go. I mean more of like, you're just kind of looking at me and like, don't go there.
Right.
Damn it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't feel that very often, except for maybe like once or twice.
Really? Because I heard you a lot of times go, dang it.
But then I was like, but then I can just go do this instead, and it worked out. So like, some of the times where I saw was, that one looks the best, but then it's like, but if I go do this, it's actually a better move for me anyway. And so you force me then to think outside of a one-dimensional box.
Right.
Again, because it's first time playing, I did forget the fact like that if you have one in your hand, you can still get these cards out. You just have to instantly play them. Because that might change something. Like, I would have had less angst about going to the noble. So I was thinking, like, I can't get this person. I really need this person out there. Mm-hmm. Which would have probably changed a little bit. But at the end of the day, it still all felt good.
Yeah.
I like the powers in here.
Mm-hmm.
I like the board as it is. I think it's interesting that it can't be changed. Like, I get the raids and stuff have to be in the right corners. But then everything else is still in a specific spot.
Yes.
Yeah, because it follows the border tells you exactly how to do it.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
Which I like. Like, once you play this game, you'll never need the rulebook again.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even need to really see the cards to know exactly what they do at this point. To me, that's a good game is you have the iconography that's clear enough, fast enough, and then it's just there and done.
Yeah.
So I like that. It's an interesting game.
Especially for 2012. Like, there was like, that was, for me, it's obviously difficult to figure out what's a modern classic. Like, like how far apart in years you have to be before you're like, that's going to be a staple forever. And because 10, 12 years later, you hear about games, Dominion, Seven Wonders, but it's like those are kind of the first, hey, deck building and drafting, so those stick around. But I haven't ever seen any game that was similar to Targi in a worker placement game.
Yeah, it's a worker placement game.
It's grid-based. Like, and that's always interesting. Like, a game that came out...
What's the Egypt one that does it very similar, where you're building boats and have different buildings? They have a 2-player and a 4-player version of the game.
Oh, I have no idea.
Because I have the Emotet.
Oh, okay. That was also Cosmos, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But very similar what I call with the whole, you're building a grid.
Gotcha.
And using multiple workers to build that same grid.
Okay.
But you basically are choosing, you actually go from the middle and it works its way out.
I see. Okay. I was looking up the designer. It's like, oh, maybe he did Imhotep.
He might have, honestly.
I think he has only done Targi.
Okay.
It's only time as a designer. But there's other games like that came out last year, Barcelona by Board and Dice. That was similar in that where you placed, you did the worker, or you did the action in the row and column.
Right.
So it's kind of the inverse where you don't meet, you go out.
Right.
But I always like that.
Yeah.
I always think that that's interesting to kind of... The placement of this is not... It's not super tight, where it's like, you took that one spot, like, because if I go to the pepper spot here, you can't go to the noble.
Right.
And that still matters, but it's not like, oh, well, I can't do anything. You know, you went to that one location, so I'm fucked for this whole round.
Right.
It's like, kind of like what you were saying, it's like, okay, I'm first player, so I'm at least guaranteed a spot. Like, I'm guaranteed the one card I want. But because you have the way to change course, where it's like, okay, then I'm going to go here, forcing you to go to the Fate Morgana spot so you can now get the card that you wanted, instead of giving you the freedom to...
Because again, like, if you really wanted this card and you went to the Pepper and I won Noble, well, I can counter that by just placing here.
Right.
Well, now this card is locked from you. You can't get that card.
Yeah, not innately, but also, it's like, now I have to do this kind of back... card instead of being like, ooh, I'm also going to do this and do the trader and still get the card I want, because that's just how kind of like free flowing it is.
Yeah.
But also still super tight. But at the same time, it's like, what if you don't even need assault?
Right.
So
you're gambling on where and what you're doing, like what you think your opponent's going to need versus what you need, and so like there's a lot of times where I did feel like it's like, okay, I have two primary choices. Do I think you're going to go to either one of them?
Right.
And if I think you're going to go to one more than the other, I'm definitely going to go to the one spot and now hope you are not going to go to the next spot.
Yeah, like this particular game, I lost by 2 points, and I'm trying to, and this is one of those where you can kind of look back and see where you messed up. And I think I spent a lot of time cycling through the tribal deck, trying to get my fucking... It was the hut.
Yeah, it was the hut.
And then it's like, because none of them were coming out. So I like the fact that it's not guaranteed that you're going to get for the set collection.
Right.
But you have ways to get more goods, so you're not starved for goods.
Right.
If you are, or if you're not starved for goods, then you can go sell them.
And the hilarious part was, like, so you were going for that hut. I went, like, these wells came out pretty early for both of us. And we both kind of clinged to them. The rest of the game, like, I was going for this, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to make a value roll. And then all the dancing ladies came out and you weren't going for them. I was like, well, I might actually be able to get 4 of them now.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my original goal. Like, once I had one roll, I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy them as needed and we're just going to fill in a spot, and maybe I'm going to fill in 2 that's going to be 2 non-matching, and I'm good with that.
It's very interesting looking back, because it's like, here's a camel.
Yeah.
There's 2 camels in here.
And I had camel in my hand.
So it's like, if I spent 1 or 2 turns less trying to get the hut, let's say I got it naturally, then I probably could have gotten the 4th camel, and then that would have been 4 points, which would have had me... Game. No, because it was... I would have gotten a point from the card. It would have put me 2 ahead from the extra, and then maybe one point.
Right.
So literally spending 1 or 2 turns just trying to get a hut was the difference of the game.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you can lose and figure out what is probably the reason, versus being like, I did everything right, why did it not work? I will say that some of the abilities, and maybe the expansion fixes this, or maybe I'm just a fucking noob, I do feel like some of the abilities are better than others.
Sure. I mean, there's definitely ones that are better than others. What I saw was... Honestly, I didn't pay attention to abilities other than just iconography for most of the part. Like, I didn't even realize this one allowed me to put onto the robber until after I took it and bought it, because I was going for wells. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but...
That's value add.
Yeah, and it is kind of... That is where turn turn order can kind of be more broken.
Right.
Where it's like, well, I didn't even have an option. Like, none of my abilities were really that good.
Right.
They were all kind of like, oh, you can pay goods a few, like some cheaper.
Right.
I had one that was like, if you play a card from your hand, then it's one cheaper.
Yep.
But all yours were, ignore raids and go where the robber is. It's like, okay, so two fundamentally crucial things about this game are blatantly ignored. And it's not that I sat there and went and let you have it.
No.
It's that, you're first player as it came out.
Yeah.
So, because I was banking on me working to get the coin and you having to pay it. And I would have won, actually, that way if you had to pay the 3.
Right.
But since you didn't, it's like, okay, well, that's kind of annoying.
Right.
So, I mean, this game isn't perfect. That's really my only main negative, is that playing for turn order can matter, but at the same time, it can also be like, well, okay, you never having to suffer a penalty from a raid is a little much.
Right.
For anyone, because it's like, okay, well, either I'm losing points or I'm losing goods, and you're not losing either just for having a card in your set.
Yep.
So I don't know if the expansion replaces that, or if they fix it, or if that's not even something that anyone's ever brought up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's brought up or not.
Because it's also super cheap. It's also you have one coin. Like, imagine if that's your first card.
Right.
Yeah, you're golden the whole round.
Yeah.
But do you have any negatives on the game? That's really my only one.
No, not really negatives. No, I mean, I think it's good game.
Yeah.
At its base. It's not very time consuming. It's
super simple to set up.
Yeah, simple setup, pretty straightforward. I can understand why a lot of people like it as a 2-player game. Probably for me, in long term, it doesn't have the complexity that I'm going to look for in a game. But
sure,
that's
why people love the expansion. Because I will say the one thing about the game, which you brought up, is I do wish the outer board could change.
Yeah, that could change. Like, if the outer board could change, then this game probably would instantly be a purchase game for me. The fact that the outer board doesn't change, I'm going to be like, okay, there's just going to be certain things that you're going to kind of plan through and say, like, okay, well, if I need Pepper, I need to go to that spot versus Noble, or I know you have a hand in Noble, so I'm going to try to stop that. Yeah. Versus, Noble and Trader now versus, like, I need both, and I only get to choose one.
Well, you know what No, you're right. It'd be nice if, like, the ones with the text on it were, hey, that's how it's set up. That's like your beginner game. And then you flip it, and, like, just raid cards had to be in the corner.
Right. And if it had done that, then I probably would buy this instantly, because then you shuffle it, you randomize it. Because that's one of the things, like, Istanbul I love about.
Yeah.
Is you shuffle and randomize it. The 7's the only one that stays the same. Yeah. It's always in the one spot. After that, everything's crazy.
I just played Istanbul again.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's one of my go-to games because it's so... Everybody knows, like, we play it enough that, like, just everybody knows how to play it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's random, every time it's a brand new puzzle to solve. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how good you are at efficiency, it's still a brand new puzzle for that efficiency.
I mean, and maybe this is how it was designed, because it's like, you want a word text ability that's really good, you're not going to get a good.
Right. And so I see that, and I understand that. To me, though, like, the puzzly part would be, like, Caravan and Trade are now together.
Yeah.
Which one is more critical as first player?
Right.
Do you gamble on Caravan, or do you go and spend the goods that you've been collecting?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think, and that to me is kind of what shows its age. Is this is a game about efficiency.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's also not, because you can get just, oh man, every time it's first player for me, a gold happens to come out.
And that happened more often than not. You got golds way more often as first player than I did.
And maybe that's why it's like, okay, the trader's there, but that's why it's like, oh man, the gold happens to be in the spot where the trader's at, so I'm going to take that.
Which might be also why, like, I cycle through better ones, because every time you went and got a gold to put a tribe card out, which just means I had more opportunity to get the critically good tribe cards.
Yeah.
And it just came up.
Yeah. So it does lack in replayability.
Yeah.
Which again, the expansion might change. I don't know.
Right.
It's like, because what would they expand? They would have to. They wouldn't just add double good cards and double tribe cards. That'd be
Right.
kind of okay. That just muddies up the cleanliness of the game.
I assume they changed the outer board somewhat.
Yeah, that would be nice if it literally came with like blank border cards. Where it's like, hey, shuffle these up, raids, like... So, I mean, even if you shuffle up...
Or just replacements, like different ones. So instead of having Fate, it's something, a different power.
Yeah.
And it's just a new power.
It is nice, though, that they start you out with 4 victory points, where it's like, hey, like,
Yeah.
you have these, so no matter what, you'll have those to give up. But you're giving up victory points, which might be the make or break deal.
That gets you through the first 3 raids.
Oh, yeah, the very last one.
So basically, your starting points are your raids. So depending on how you look at it, you can just be like, well, that's just what my raids are worth.
Yeah, that's
it.
true.
That's just the
That
game.
is true.
It's the 4 raids.
Yeah, you can... I mean, there's a lot of ways you can... I thought about just going heavy into goods and just hitting the silversmith a shit ton. And
You kept doing that. I was like, man, you're getting quite a few points. But
I thought that was going to be my difference.
But I was like, okay, but I'm building this up. And then at the end of the game, like, you went way heavy into this. Because I was way ahead of you on this side of it. And I was like, okay, I'm doing well over here. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. I'm assuming you had one card that gave you additional victory points at the end.
Yeah, so this one for every camel. And I was trying to get this one, and this one was going to give me an extra 2 points by being...
It's for every 2 camels, you fucking cheater.
Oh. Okay, then I need to subtract 1 point.
What was the other one? Where's the other point?
But no, I was going to say, I was trying to get this one out because it was going to be worth... So it would have fixed that problem, but it would have been also an additional 2 points for being on the rightmost space.
Yeah.
And that's what I was really trying to push for at the end there.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the game quite a bit. It was
I don't think I'd
interesting.
play this a shit ton. It wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
oh, and I have 2 players.
I have better 2-player games I enjoy more.
I agree. Now, I mean, I'm very interested to see what the expansion brings. And hopefully, and maybe that is like, ooh, now will play this all the time. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Targi?
7.
That's where I'm also at, is a 7. And it's really weird because normally, like, if this game had the variability from game to game, because, I mean, I like the fact that you take a tribe card, it becomes a good becomes tribe cards, it alternates, and it's not always going to be the same amount. You'll have a shit ton of goods out and very limited tribes, but it's like, okay, I don't like any of those, so I'll search.
Yeah.
That's kind of enough, and I do like the fact that there's, player powers, even though, well, not player powers, but
There's powers.
there's powers that you can get
Yeah.
that might give you a good build, but they're a little lopsided in my opinion. But if it did have the variability, I could see it being like an 8.5 to a 9, just to have a different puzzle, like you mentioned with Istanbul.
Yeah.
Because if Istanbul didn't have that and it was always the same grid,
Right.
it'd be like
It,
6.
yeah, because I would solve it. It's my problem.
Right. It's like, oh, go here first, go here, go
Right.
here. Yeah, like every time. Every time that's what you would do. But it's like, nope, just shuffle them.
Yeah. That's what we do almost exclusively now, is you shuffle them.
Yeah. So 7 right now. Expansion might bump it up or might
Yeah.
muddy it up. Sometimes that happens. You have anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Targi. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.